Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Gregory Dole. This is a preview video for Deontay Wilder versus Joseph Parker, which takes place this Saturday in Saudi Arabia on the Zone pay-per-view. Greg, good to speak about this with you. I know it's usually Elliot Grigg and Paul Kelly who do the preview videos, but we're hijacking, we're taking over, and they've got some people who actually know a little bit about boxing in this video. So here we are. Greg, good to speak to you. First question I've got, we're going to jump right into it. Anthony Joshua is facing Otto Wallin. Deontay Wilder is facing Joseph Parker. Which is the biggest banana skin? We're being told we're going to see Joshua Wilder in 2024. However, they both obviously need to win on Saturday. What would be the bigger upset?
Great to speak to you, Elliot. I think the bigger banana skin is Joshua Wallin. I think we kind of most people expect Deontay Wilder maybe just to be a bit too big for Joseph Parker and punch too hard. Whereas there's a lot of people who are predicting that Otto Wallin wins on Saturday. So I think I would need to say that Wallin is the bigger banana peel.
Yeah. It's an interesting debate, and I feel like with Joshua Wallin, a lot of people aren't sure where Joshua is in his career. He's maybe had not the most convincing performances in 2023, whereas Deontay Wilder just hasn't he's not been around too much, has he? The last couple of years. Had stopped Robert Helenius in a round in October of last year. Before that, it was another year since the third fight against Tyson Fury, which obviously ended in another defeat. Moving on to Deontay Wilder, 38 years old now. He's had 40-odd fights. He's still only lost to one man in Tyson Fury. I know it's a tricky question, but where do you think he is at in his career? Are you expecting him to have another 6, 7, 8 fights and fight until he's kind of 40, 41? Do you think it could be 1 or 2 more fights? Where do you think Wilder's at in his career at the moment, Greg?
It's a great question, Elliot, because I'd be surprised if anyone actually knows. He's one of these guys I would have expected him to be more active, but I think a part of what happened with Fury took his love away for boxing. I don't want to use the phrase that he took his soul, but Deontay Wilder was basically knocking everyone out up until those Tyson Fury fights, and there was 3 of them, and they were probably very taxing fights as well. So he's always going to have his punch. The last thing to leave a fighter is the punch, and that's what he's been best known for in the heavyweight division. So if I was guesstimating, I think he's maybe got 3 or 4 maximum left in him, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was a little less than that.
Yeah, no, look, it is a very tricky question, and I think that it could be quite telling where he is in his career a round or so into this fight. It's worth mentioning that a lot of heavyweights do fight into their 30s. It's not unusual for a heavyweight to be 38 years old and still fighting. Some heavyweights, i.e. the likes of Alexander Povetkin, Vladimir Klitschko, fought when they were 40, 41 years old. So it's not out of the question to see that still happen with Wilder. We'll move on to predictions now, Greg. Wilder, I imagine, is a fairly strong favourite in this fight. And he's going up against Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker's coming off a stoppage win. He's a former world champion. He's fought Anthony Joshua, fought Dillian Whyte, fought Andy Ruiz, fought Joe Joyce. He's got a pretty impressive resume, as Joseph Parker. What is your prediction for this fight? How do you see it going?
You have to think about Wilder's inactivity, and you also have to take into consideration that Parker was quite badly chinned against Joe Joyce, and he's probably never really get back to the level of that guy who was world champion and beat Andy Ruiz, for example. I like Joseph Parker, as you know. I say this to you guys in the group all the time. I'm a massive Andy Lee fan. I think the guy's a boxing encyclopedia. I just think it's always like a good big man beats a good little man, isn't it? And I just think if this fight is scheduled for 12, this one, although there's not a world title on the line, you've got to think, Elliot, is it going to go 12 rounds before Deontay Wilder detonates that right hand on Parker's chin at some point? I just think Wilder will stop him, and it's no discredit to Joseph Parker. If anything, I'm crediting Joseph Parker because I think Deontay Wilder is the hardest punching heavyweight of all time. I'll go out and say that now.
Yeah, I just think to kind of break it down, can Joseph Parker go 12 rounds without getting hit by Deontay Wilder? And Joseph Parker, look, he got stopped by Joe Joyce. Joe Joyce, is a massive guy, can punch hard. Then got dropped against Dillian White also, who can really punch. But I just think that the chances of this fight not ending in a Deontay Wilder stoppage are quite slim, I would say. However, Parker, 23 stoppages in his 33 wins, can punch as well. There is always that question if Parker connects with Deontay Wilder, what happens? In the same way, that might be a bit silly, but there was always that question mark on what happens if Francis Ngannou connects with Tyson Fury, and he did connect with him, and we saw what happened. Where are you kind of in terms of how confident you are? There are some people, I'm sure, who aren't giving Joseph Parker much of a chance at all. Some people might call this kind of a 60-40 fight if you consider Deontay Wilder's activity. Where do you sit, Greg?
I'm probably 65-35, Elliot, in favour of Wilder. But there's still questions there for Wilder. I mean, what is it? He's fought one round in, is it 2 years or so? I mean, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And I know that we're talking about Joseph Parker being able to punch a bit. Joseph Parker's a really good boxer. And, he fought a bully in Joe Joyce that just looked like a guy at that time, for someone Parker's height and size, he couldn't be hurt by a guy like that. I think Wilder, chin-wise and maybe body-wise, is a bit more fragile than like a Joe Joyce. All fighters have their strengths. So I think we should be looking at Joseph Parker's boxing ability in this fight. But it comes down to, can he stay away from that right hand for 12 rounds? And I just say no. So I'm probably 65-35 in favour of Wilder.
Fantastic. Final question I've got before we log off, Greg. I know that bit of a spoiler alert, but I know that in the big fight breakdown for Anthony Joshua versus Otto Wallin, you're picking Joshua to win, as am I. You're picking Wilder to win in this fight. I do have to ask the question, will we finally see Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder in 2024? And if yes, why? If no, why? Tell us your thoughts.
I actually think so, Elliot, yeah. I just think that both guys have to be aware that they're each other's biggest payday at the moment, and that fight will be huge. At the end of the day, Deontay Wilder, the age that he's at now, he wants a massive pay packet to go out on. I think it's a lot more likely than Joshua Tyson Fury fighting. So I think if both guys come through, and believe it or not, I think if both don't look overly impressive, I think there's more chance it happens. So I'm going to go out one. I'm going to say, yes, we will see it in 2024.
Yeah, I think, look, it's the ages that both guys are and the losses that both guys have had. It's arguably next year or never. I think if it doesn't happen in 2024 or next for both fighters, I don't see it. I really don't see it happening, to be honest. But we'll see. They're both up against good heavyweights on December the 23rd. And they both have to win for that fight to happen. Greg, be good to speak to this one about you. Obviously, look, a massive card in Saudi on December 23rd. Lots of other fights that we've broken down. We've done betting tip shows, big fight breakdowns, short previews like this one. Please do check them all out. Greg, I will speak to you again soon. Thank you very much for your time.